Step 3 Aqua Vitae Quabbalisticae. In the two preceding steps the quabbalist has been taught how to pronounce each letter quabbalistically, one after the other, 1. In their color oscillation, that is, by the principle of volition which is subject to the fire element, and 2. In the vibration of the air principle, that is, how to dynamize each letter bipolarly. The inductive and deductive procedures enable the quabbalist to apply the oscillations and vibrations of a letter outside of himself in the universe, or any other place, or inside himself. By learning how to condense the power of expansion gradually, he attains the necessary resistance and toughness to resist and withstand these oscillations and vibrations. That this ability is of great importance from the Hermetic point of view will be quite clear to any quabbalist who has got so far. Now I am going to introduce the student of the Quabbalah to a third oscillation of the letters which he must also learn to master by the help of the suitable exercises. In this third type of oscillation, the elemental features of the letter plays an important role, which the quabbalist has to appropriate to himself by feeling. Note: refer to page 36 above to compare the elemental attributes given in this section with those in other parts of the book. There are some discrepancies which the student must figure out for himself. One again starts with letter A. The quabbalist utters the A in his mind, enter his body, which he imagines to be a hollow space. In doing so, he must have a feeling of ease, air. As soon as he has succeeded in doing this after a few exercises, really having this certain feeling of ease whenever he gives an utterance in his mind, he may eventually pronounce the A in a low voice and imagine that the evokes this feeling of ease also in his workroom. After repeatedly successful trials he extends his exercise of transferring the sensation of ease to the whole universe. If by pronouncing the A spiritually and physically, the student succeeds in evoking that feeling of ease inside and outside of himself at will, even though he might not be thinking quabbalistically of the sensation of ease, but the feeling, nevertheless, arises automatically, he may regard these exercises as completed and pass on to the next letter, to ash. The exercises with the ash are the same as with letter A, but instead of the feeling of ease, the student must have an opposite sensation. He must have the feeling of a leaden weight, earth, and stand it through. He must be able to extend the feeling of weight to the whole universe and vice versa, pass through this feeling of weight, represented and affected by letter ash from its expansion over the whole universe down to a very small dot. When mastering the exercises with letter ash, the student may go on to letter B. Letter B also has to do with the earth element, with gravity. The exercises have to be repeated until they are perfectly mastered. The C is subordinated to two elements, that is, to the fire and air principles. Thus, the student must sense and pass through two different sensations, the feeling of ease combined with a feeling of warmth. This means that he learns to evoke letter C double elementally, by causing a sensation of warmth and ease inside and outside of himself when pronouncing this letter. Letter D is controlled by the pure element of fire, thus the quabbalist must have a feeling of warmth when he utters it. Depending on his ability of concentration and imagination, he must intensify this feeling up to a sensation of heat. The E is the specific characteristic of the Akasa principle which is revealed, in its elemental effect, in a feeling of power of penetrating all. F appertains to the earth principle and thus has the elemental characteristics of gravity. The exercises have therefore to be combined with the oscillation of the feeling of weight. G is subject to the water principle and the exercises have to be combined with a feeling of chill, which has to be increased to a feeling of iciness. Letter H appertains to the fire principle, and the oscillation of feeling is that of warmth. The CH is a letter of the water principle, to be practiced with a feeling of chill. Letter A is a letter of the earth element and must therefore be practiced with a feeling of weight. The J, the Quabbalistic Chud, is attributed to the fire principle in nearly all Quabbalistic writings. Only few people know that it is not J that appertains to the fire element but the key word Chud which represents number 1, that is, omnipotence, in the creation. In Malkuth the 1 is reflected as keyword of number 10, by which the kingdom of earth is meant. The experienced quabbalist will take this for granted. The J of the alphabet is therefore not controlled by the fire principle but by the water principle and must consequently be practiced with a feeling of chill. The K, with its fire principle, has to be connected with a feeling of warmth. Like letter A, the L is analogous to the air element and requires a sensation of ease. Letter M corresponds to the original principle of water and is to be practiced with a feeling of chill. In the Sefer Jezira, the Book of Creation, it is said that the Creator made the water with letter M. The N, like letter M, is subject to the water principle and must therefore also be connected with a feeling of chill. The O is a letter of the earth element and must be trained with a sensation of weight. The work with umlaut O is most difficult. This umlaut seems to have two elemental features opposing each other, requiring the feeling of penetrating all, akasa, and the feeling of weight, earth. The all-penetrating feeling is caused by the grade of condensation of the akasa principle. The akasa principle corresponds to our ether, which is the carrier of electrical and magnetic waves. The intuitional perception of the akasa principle is that of penetrating all, which may even be condensed, and is expressed, in its stability, by umlaut O. In the beginning of this exercise, the quabbalist will find it somewhat difficult to find the right harmony between these two opposing feelings. To make things easier in practice, the student should first practice the feeling of penetrating everything with the consciousness that, by the oscillation of letter O, stability and its concentration is expressed. Next is P with the earth principle, which is connected with the feeling of weight. The letter R is missing in the original German edition. The original manuscript is no longer available. Dr. Letters S and SH are controlled by the fire element and, consequently, they have to be practiced with sensations of warmth, one after the other. According to the Sefer Jezira, Book of Creation, the active principle of the fire element was originally created by means of letter SH, or Shim. Letter T, appertaining to the fire principle, too, is connected with a feeling of warmth. The U is analogous to the pure akasa principle and, when practiced, is connected with a feeling of penetrating everything. Letter W, which, in principle, comes under the water element, is to be connected with a feeling of chill in the exercises. Letter Y, U, pertains to both the etheric earth principle and the feeling of penetrating everything, akasa. Finally, letter Z, which is analogous to the air principle, must be practiced with a feeling of ease.